So should Dems knock it off and get behind the front runner, or just keep eating each other alive with fava beans and a nice Chianti? Joining me now, former White House press secretary and America First PAC senior advisor and spokesperson, it is Sean Spicer. Welcome back, Sean.
Great to be back. Thank you. That was probably the most entertaining memo that I've heard all day.
Thank you, Sean. That means a great deal to me. So let's hear your point of view on what the rest of the Democrat field should be doing in terms of Joe Biden. Should they be supporting him? Should more of them drop out? Or should they all just have a Stanford prison experiment pile on and really drag him down?
Well, look, you don't run for president if you actually don't want to win. So I think the other folks on that stage, whether they're on the stage with him the first night or the others that aren't going to be with him on the second night, have to take shots at him. You can't win if you don't take down the front runner at some point, whether it's Joe Biden or anyone else. So they've got to start taking shots. I think they're going to look at what Kamala Harris did last time and say she did it effectively. She knocked him down. He looked like he wasn't on his game.
Yeah.
I get your point. He'll probably come back more prepared. It's pretty obvious that his team from the first debate went off and started working with Robert Mueller. So he's got a new team in place. But
that's really funny.
But here's what thank you. I've been working on that all day. The thing that's really interesting, though, is that you mentioned this in the memo. Biden's running for Obama's third term.
Sure.
He is not a great candidate. He was elected to the Senate in 1973. He's run for president twice and failed epically. He literally, the only reason he's doing as well is not just name ID, but it's also that he's associated with Barack Obama, who's still very popular in the Democratic field, if you will. And so he's trapped. At one point, he has to talk about the past. He has to associate himself with Obama and talk about their successes. On the other hand, he has to be forward-leaning, which all the other folks are. So he's got this conundrum about how to, it's almost like he's playing prevent defense. He's got to figure out, how do I preserve the lead? And right now, you've got everyone taking shots at him, plus talking about the future and one-upping themselves as far as going to the left.
Yeah.
Biden's trying to preserve this space that he has. I don't know how you thread the needle on that. And I think that we saw the last time is that he is unprepared. He hasn't been through the fight. He hasn't been tested.
Well, I mean, at least he gets another shot. He gets another few shots.
He does.
In these debates, and the only direction he has to go in is down. But, if he has a strong performance and he adequately defends his record, does he walk out of there with the nomination?
Well, I think, look, I'll be honest with you. I've said this before. I actually think if you look at the way that the construct is set up in terms of their contest, Iowa's a caucus state. Then you go to New Hampshire. I think Bernie Sanders is actually set up to really prevail if Kamala Harris or others knock Biden down, because he does well in caucus states. Iowa kicks it off. He's a native son almost in New Hampshire. Then we move on to Nevada, where, again, you've got a heavy
Nevada
union.
and that's also a wild card caucus state.
Right.
But then in South Carolina, Joe Biden has like a 437% advantage over the rest of the field.
Right. But I think the interesting thing is that this is one where people have got to be careful. Sanders' strength is in organization. He actually, when you look at how he did in the caucus states last cycle, he did very, very well. The sleeper to me, regardless of what the polls say, is Sanders. So if Biden gets whacked down, regardless of who goes up and who goes down in the polls, the way that the early states are set up, I actually think that Sanders has got a really good play for the first 3 or 4 contests, barring South Carolina, where I think Kamala Harris actually could be the wild card there. But Biden's got to figure out who he wants to be.
She's polling best after Biden, but Biden is polling so well in South Carolina, which is just head-scratching. And Biden doesn't know what he wants to be. I mean, Bernie's right when he says that Biden and Hillary suffer from the same type of identity crisis, because you have to do so many things as the Democrat nominee. You have to be, and I've used the word transformational a bunch, but, of course, you have to reach out to younger progressives. He also has a god-awful foreign policy and criminal justice record that he has to defend. He has to prove he's not Hillary. He has to pretend that he's Barack Obama. He's already wounded, considering where he started when he entered the race. But I still, I look at this and I look at all the variables, I look at all of his tools, and I don't see how he emerges as the nominee.
Well, and if he does right now, Kennedy, he's going to come out very wounded. It's sort of like stumbling over the finish line. I agree with you. I don't think right now that the way his trajectory is going that he's going to be the nominee. But I think it's going to be interesting because I give credit to Kamala Harris in the last debate. She threaded that needle perfectly. Everybody was worried about how an attack on Biden was going to come off. She did it really well.
And that's also a candidate who she's had her stumbles, but you have to examine what you're doing and what you're working with. And it seems that she has done a better job of that than some of these other people, because Mayor Pete certainly has gone down perceptually. But, you know, this Ohio poll, this is one of those things where it gets stuck in voters' heads and they go, well, you know, he's beating the president by 8 points.
Right.
Maybe he can beat him nationally. And that's when people in some of these other states go toward him.
But again, I would go back to that's great, but how the game is played is not by popular polls.
Yeah.
It's by going into Iowa and then New Hampshire, and that's the problem. Is that he needs people in Iowa to like him. He needs people in New Hampshire to like him.
He's still
and then
ahead in
South
Iowa.
Carolina, excuse me, then Nevada. And the problem is that he can be doing very well nationally, but if either Kamala Harris or Sanders does well in Iowa, that knocks him off. If you think about a guy like Rick Santorum on the Republican side, he wasn't high in the national polls, but he worked really hard through those 99 counties and won. And I think that the key is, can Sanders maintain that coalition he had last time and prevail in Iowa, which would knock Biden off his horse big time? Because if he doesn't get a few big wings out of the gate, the national polls will follow and show him going down. But I think the point that you made before is spot on. He's got to figure out who he's going to be.
Yeah.
And the problem is that he wants to be Barack Obama's third term, which is and play this middle of the road, pragmatic candidate. The problem is that's not where the base of the party is right now. It's very far to the left.
And the things that the things that the president are doing well now, that he is doing well now, it goes to show that there were aspects of the Obama presidency that were so middle of the road, milquetoast, and that's not exactly something to champion. And Obamacare it's on its last legs. I mean, this is a dog that should have been put down a few years ago.
By the way, this is the same Joe Biden that just a couple days ago talked about the fact that if you like your doctor, you can keep it if you. And I was like, did you not learn the lesson the last time we played this?
That was the best. And then I pointed this out last night. The Biden was like, the Russians wouldn't have been screwing around with the election on our watch. And it's like, buddy, it was your watch. You're the only person who owned that watch. You and Barack Obama. What a watch.
And he also went after, the other day, he talked about how China wasn't a threat. Come on, folks. We're not, and then,
this is China.
That's how out of touch the guy is.
Okay, Sean, we have to go, but please come back and visit in studio soon.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Very good. Excellent. All right.